I just have to find my way back to Zoom. It takes a moment. Good morning. Welcome, welcome. We got a lot of work to do today and this week. We've been focusing, I said I wouldn't say timelines anymore this week, or time for that matter, after yesterday's meditation, but alas, here we are. There's more work to do with them. And I'm actually really I'm always personally looking forward to the time we get to spend together and where we're going to be guided. But this one feels like it feels big. It feels really big. And I wanted to, these are meditations. Why do I call them meta-tations instead of meditation? Is because we're looking for the metas, right? We're trying to find the greatest expression of what's out there and what's available for us to connect to. And that means we get to find the meta timelines as well, or those timelines that are part of that wave of time versus the timeline, which is more so captured, right? It's encapsulated in a specific um, field, in a specific energy where it kind of gets caught on loop, right? That's the thing about Earth, is that while we're here to be working polarity, we're here to be working out traumas and density and separateness, right? Because through understanding the separateness, we're able to come back to cohesion and oneness. We have this cycle, that our pattern, that the overall Earth consciousness is running, that is also at the end of its own timeline, which is what we refer to as the new. You hear a lot of different names for it, but the dawning of the Aquarian age, among many, many, many other things. And it's not that it happens like this year. We can kind of see how the last several years have led up to this, but it really can even happen over a couple hundred years. It's not just a fixed moment, but there are these we are in one of the major massive shifts around this timeline. And as a result, having just come through Chiron is like the gas tank is running out. And where has it run out? And that leads to the crisis, also known in the Chiron field as the healing crisis. And so to me, that's also the end of the timeline, right? If we're out of fuel, if something's meant to change, it's because a certain aspect of us is meant to, is just no longer relevant. It's no longer needed. And so we're here for the up level. We're here to find the metas. And that's ultimately what we're going to be diving into today. With that being said, the day to day of this can be really incredible. Today, I woke up and I was like, I am so caught in the old timeline right now, like just the energies and the emotions. And this is where we get to really do the work, because yesterday I was totally on the new timeline and completely feeling great and jamming and so much productivity. So why does that matter? Well, part of what we're shifting into it's less about our beliefs and what the emotions are and the emotional intelligence, and more about what we're able to do with it in the moment. How do we process? Because this is what we're moving to, is real-time processing of our energies and everything that comes along with them, as opposed to, okay, cool, that happened, and we just kind of keep plugging along until all of a sudden, boom, something collides and it blows up in front of us. It's not going to be the new paradigm model. The new paradigm is process it in the moment, like as things come at you. And of course, we hear this as the medicine of being able to live in the moment and live in the now, which is relevant. However, what comes out of it are the old timelines and things coming up. You only need to turn on the news for 30 seconds, not even 3 seconds, to recognize how many other timelines are beginning to extinguish themselves because they're flaring up, right? And that's what happens at the end of a timeline, is consciousness comes to it. So today's going to be a big one. That's why I'm giving you this little bit bigger intro, but I think we're ready. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and dive in. The sun is at a really unique position for me. every time I go to like shift us in, there's sunshine on my face. So starting with your light link, let's go ahead and drop in. And as you drop in, closing your eyes and imagining that sunshine, its warmth. I want to have you focus on the body, focus on the warmth. So even if you're usually visual, really, really dial up the warmth, imagining it, that heat penetrating through your skin, through your mind's eye. And really take a moment. And then once you feel like you've really got the connection to the heat and the warmth of the sun, then begin to shift into the visual of whiting out your vision. And taking a few nice, gentle breaths here. Again, we're going to stay physically focused for our intro today. Breathing in and out, imagining that sun. We're taking our time. We're going to be working the sun a lot today to overcome or to navigate. There's a very clear guidance on how to extract ourselves from a timeline is what we're going to be up to, how you can actually do it. And if you didn't tune in for yesterday's Meta-tation, be sure to go capture that one. We really focused on how to start your day with the right timeline. Today's focus is on how to actually heal a timeline, how to overcome it. It's not about cutting it off, cutting the cord. These timelines are very real energies and aspects, and you have holographic expression in all of them. You have past genetic and energetic through your ancestors. Timelines matter. And timelines are matter. All right, now starting to shift to your feet. Again, continue cranking that heat up. We're going for a lot of heat today, a lot fiery energy to work this meditation, to capture the meta timeline, and feeling into the earth as you shift your focus, maybe imagining that heat coming all the way down and through the body, breathing in and out, in and out. All right, and as you're continuing to breathe, finding the earth, and it may feel cool, that's okay. Let some of the coolness come up and in. And I want to actually have you shift to desert. Go ahead, when you dial in your earth today, dial in some desert energy. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Really taking your time. Finding that desert landscape. And settling in now to your feet. Settling into your feet. Your feet, let them, I know it's a desert landscape and that's intentional, but see if you can't sort out any type of root. Imagining how would you dig in? How would your energy melt into this earth? How would it melt into the earth here? Continuing to breathe in and out. Breathing in and out. Taking our time. And we are ready now. Okay, everybody should be fully immersed within some kind of a desert landscape. And I want you to imagine this landscape as though you're at the bottom of a canyon. And so rising, sending your vision up above, feeling the canyon walls all around you. Maybe there's some shade, maybe the sun is shining in, but again, in true desert fashion, really allowing the intensity of the heat of the sun to build. Maybe your thirst comes into question. And as we find ourselves on different timelines, essentially this is the effect, right? They're a river that has engorged itself so deeply, so deeply into the earth that it can be fixed. Also think about a young river running down a mountainside, right? New, fresh, spring-like energy. But in the depths of a canyon, even with a rushing gorge of water pouring through it that's etched its way through the earth, there's relevance. And you can almost feel these currents of energy as we use this metaphor to identify timelines. You can feel some of these timelines etched deep, deep, deep in your energy field. And so that's why we took a moment coming in, because I really want to have you think up. I'm giving you the visual of standing in the canyon, but there is a deeply entrenched current of energy running through your body. And I know you can feel it in there. It's not quite descriptible yet. It's somewhere between the heart and the spine, running between and through all of the chakras, maybe snaking its way. We have over 10 layers to the holographic energy field, to the energy body. And the chakras comprise all of them, but the chakras are run on energy as well. So this is timelines call in manifestation, right? Because space and time does not exist. We create it. And so again, as time is moving, right, we can feel its current and coming along with it, especially the old timelines. This is deeply entrenched, deep, 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 deep in the canyon. And what's interesting about this type of a timeline versus thinking about a project that you're working on that maybe you've had going for a couple of years, feel that now in your energy body. It probably has some fresh energy to it. Definitely doesn't feel deeply entrenched like this. Maybe it's just, if you get the visual from your energy body kind of rolling across the plains, right? Nice big open expanse of water if it's more established. If it's newer, maybe it's a brook or a small spring that's just feeding itself, taking form, and then joining a larger body of consciousness, a larger stream of river. You can feel those fresher ones. And then as you're ready, come back to the canyon floor, really feel the rocks, the dryness of the desert beneath you, maybe even the soft sand at the edge of this water. This is intentional. I'm popping you back and forth. These are all different aspects and layers. And we know that these timelines, at least in theory, are all supposed to lead to the collective, lead to the whole encompassing oneness. And yet, there are some timelines that we get caught upon that are false narratives. You only need to, again, turn on the media or the television, tune in to your social feed to get caught up in the false narratives and the false timeline. Timelines are controlled by electromagnetic fields. Case in point, daylight savings here in the US. And even the fact that some states, in particular, Arizona being one of them, where we are doing this meditation right now, we are dropped into a canyon, whether you realize it or not. I'll connect us there in a moment. We're dropped into a state in a geographical area that doesn't recognize daylight saving. So noticing how timelines can be manipulated, right? How time can be manipulated, which brings us to divine time. And as we feel the expansiveness of divine time, we can gaze to the stars above and the sun. Go ahead and give yourself both images. Take your time to find the stars rotating across the desert sky. No place like the desert to envision the expanse of time. And we can gaze upon those stars, knowing that in other bodies and other avatars and from other vantage points in the cosmos, we've gazed upon them. And we feel what's called higher wrath as we imagine gazing upon the stars, home, a longing for home, a connection from some unspoken space, higher wrath. And so we hear this call amongst the stars, and the stars help us navigate out of the false timelines and paradigms because they remind us of home. They remind us of something that is not tangible on the current, or is not evidencing itself on the current timeline we're existing upon. So I want you here to lick your lips and relax your jaw, because we're going to trigger the sun again. And this time it's going to come back with such a full force because we're going for it. The sun is going to rise on us again in the desert. Those cool canyons getting so cold at night. Shade can be up to 20 degrees different between where the sun begins to hit. And this time, as we wake, we find ourselves not only in a canyon, but in a box canyon with no out, no way out, no way forward. We could go back, but we know we don't have the resources or the supplies. The tank has run empty. We know we need to go forward, and yet we're feeling boxed in. We're feeling the separateness. And I think that that's a key word. When we look at, for example, our culture and what's happening in society, really not just this year, but has been continuing to build a great rift, a great divide. That's intentional. Those are timelines that are all burning out, that are creating an end of the line where a choice gets to be made. I was going to say has to be made, but there's always choice. And we are the ones that control the outcome of that choice. Because again, it comes back to how do we process the energy around us? What do we do with it? So in order to see that, it's not an answer we can get from our previous ways of being. It's an answer that only comes by, again, gazing at the stars, recognizing that just because we can't see the way out, just because we've attempted to build ladders and bridges across the canyon, maybe we still have not found our way. And so when we're caught in the box, when we're caught with the four walls, the only path is to look above, to recognize that the sun in its blasted heat, which is elevating your temperature, continuing to breathe, like really focusing in and letting that temperature rise, is to allow it to continue to rise and recognize that you get to become one with the sun, that there's a consciousness here that supersedes, that is a current of energy flowing over these walls that you can't reach. So I want to bring in here, in particular, a group of humans, individuals that felt a call for whatever reasons. We're not going to get into the politics or the religious aspects of what led them to this point in time, but they felt a call in their mind, in their highest and best order. They were following God's path. and God's mission, God's voice for them. They were explorers led by a man named Silas Smith, and they found themselves at the base of the Colorado River trying to navigate the Escalante Gulf, deep in the throat of what is known as the Glen Canyon area now today, and recreationally known as Lake Powell. It is an area that is filled in by water because of the Glen Canyon Dam today. But when these humans, when this tribe brought their 250 people through these canyons in the midst of the desert, they didn't have water to float down. They only had the Colorado River to navigate along. And they found themselves at an impasse because they knew if they were to continue to follow the Colorado, they were going in the wrong direction and they would be forever caught. They were out of supplies. They'd be forever caught in a space where they couldn't navigate, but they were also needing to leave their water supply. So think about that. How many of us continue to choose and make the same choices because it's just comfortable, right? Like we're caught in the box canyon. We're caught in a construct of beliefs and ways of being because it is comfortable, because it is what we know. And yet where we're going into unity consciousness, we know that there are other ways to navigate, and it requires risk. It requires becoming something new, someone new, some frequency new. And so this group found what is known infamously now as the hole in the rock. And I've sat at the base of Hole in the Rock many, many times, picnicking, you could call it, hanging out on the water in our boat. And when you look at this, it brings, and you really reflect on what these people were up against, it brings a lot of emotion to the surface because they legitimately had a canyon wall before them, and they had wagons, and they had families, and they had kids, and they were desperate, and they knew they needed to go over this wall. So I want you to call that forward in this moment, those moments in time for you when you know you're at the end of a timeline, when you know consciousness is coming to a shift. We can feel this. And if it isn't impacting you in this present moment today, we know that it is impacting our culture and our society. This year is a year of timelines, not just ending, but new converging, right? And coming together. And yet it is each of us facing this canyon wall, recognizing the tribe of people that we are leading and ushering them over into a new consciousness. And so Silas's tribe of people that would later become and found be the forerunners to Silas Smith, the group known as the Latter-day Saints today. They did it. They started to haul their people over. A couple people died in the process. They forged this path over and dragged somehow their horses and their wagons and all of their resources and supplies. And they made it. They made it over the canyon wall and would go on to what we know be the founders of a massive Christian movement in the United States. So today, as we're guided through this, I want you to imagine climbing that wall against insurmountable odds. But today, the wall doesn't get climbed by, imagining pulling out your pickaxe or whatever it may be. It's a wall that is all white, 4 walls all around you. And as you gaze to the above, you can see the sun shining down upon you, or the stars. You know there is another side to this wall. And in some way, shape, and form, Spirit is here to collaborate with you, to overcome this internal strife, this need for resolution, that is coming out of a past, out of a lineage, out of an ancestry, out of a series of beliefs that have been projected onto you in the world that you're living in. Because to truly forge a new reality, not only do we have to honor this hardship, but we get to transcend it. So, one at a time, as you imagine climbing this wall, instead of climbing it, allow spirit to show you what is the next step. Are you meant to imagine jumping on your flying horse, your Pegasus, and fly over with spirit? Are you meant to imagine brick by brick, forging a yellow brick, a golden road, golden path? This is where faith in being the light being that you are truly comes in. It's where our human construct really doesn't serve us. It is where we are called into our star-seated being, our star-seated light. And so as you, and before you start to really overcome this, please activate your star seed. Allow yourself to be in the white room with the four walls all around you, and let spirit show you the next step. And step by step, that wall gets digested through your field. That resistance, that energy, that insurmountable odd, that seemingly there is no way I can force that person to change. It doesn't matter what I say, they're never going to see my path. Whatever and however this wall arises for you, know that you are evolving and healing the timeline, because that is truly the only way we can overcome it. And so whatever those pioneers were overcoming in their time, whatever they were running from, whatever they were escaping, evolving through, they were truly the pioneers, forging a path into what they believed to be the right thing, led by God. And today, you and I have the perspective of looking back on that and seeing what was being seeded and being able to see the grander picture of our historical evolution in the United States. But it doesn't change the fact that that energetic was imprinted for you and for me to capture today. To not only be able to scale the wall, but to allow spirit and the universe. This goes beyond the story of the God timeline, right? To guide us, for you to be the light that maybe cuts a laser beam through that wall and tears it down permanently and for good. That maybe imagines a golden rope suddenly emerging. And not only can you start to climb and scale that wall with that rope, but you can pass it back through the timeline of all those who have scaled this same energetic hurdle of shame, of anger, of doubt, of resistance, of unworthiness, in an effort to simply seek safety and security, truth and love. So as you see yourself not only using this rope of golden thread, and now a silver one is emerging along with it, feeding it down and through the timeline, through the generations, through the hardship, through the persecution. And in its wake, a tsunami of new time rising up from below, lifting you up and over the wall. Tsunami of timelessness as you bring with you all those in your lineage who have captured this rope. And as you emerge on the other side in a collective wave, having found a ship to carry you across, an arc to carry you across this horizon of doubt and of resistance, knowing that not only the rope and the arc would emerge to carry you through, but that you would make it. Your entire tribe would make it. As it relates to timelines, an interesting construct I heard recently was that Noah not only built his ark for the flood and was gifted the peace dove, but that the ark traveled across the rift, across the canyon, if you will, through space and time, and landed in the current timeline of consciousness that we have been operating off of as a human construct driven by modern history, which I'm going to predate to 13,000 years or so. The current belief systems and structures that have uploaded. And we know we're at a new time. And so imagining yourself now with your tribe, much like Noah on his ark, seeing that white dove flying across your mind's eye. And seeing its olive branch of peace and land and hope and the answer to whatever it is you're seeking. I want to have you imagine now, without needing to know where you are, landing on shore, landing your vision for tomorrow. You are nothing but an incredible creator, a starseed, gifted with the power to wield time and space to create a landscape of your greatest dreams and your greatest visions. And with that comes a heavy, heavy, heavy responsibility. Powerful responsibility. To be conscious of all those that you've brought across this wall. To recognize what the wall was for them. And to also recognize that there are lessons that have been learned and a new truth that has been forged. I invite you as you land upon this shore to imagine a temple appearing in the flame of the sun that you carried across from that timeline in the desert to ignite the flame in this temple on the shore of where you've just landed. Same eternal hope and light and flame and fire that brought us here. We never can predict how or know the how, but we sure can try. And the key is to recognize that it lives within you. The answer lives within you. And if you're able to get out of the walls and out of the box and the constructs that all of the electromagnetic fields around you are creating at any given time, and if you can allow yourself to believe that you have the power to heal the generations and your parents and your grandparents and all those before you that culminated in this, that you can help them move to the new timeline, to the new wave. It's not even timeline anymore. It's a collective wave of energy as all of these tributaries converge into one. Really allow your mind to open and expand, like if the lotus flower blossoming for 72 and then 144 petals. Feel it spinning in the top of your mind as you open to the light, finding new purchase and new earth. You're grounding, allowing your capacity for energy to expand. This is your day. Today is your day. As you open your heart to it, it's your choice. We are all defined by our environment. It's nearly impossible to escape the matrix in the electromagnetic fields that are programming our phones, media, the things that we can actually see. They're always going to be there, and yet, so is this truth. Both are equally true. So where are you choosing to focus your energy? And as you interact and interface with the matrix and the old timelines, how are you choosing to process it? Are you choosing to process it? Or are you choosing to stay stuck at the bottom of the canyon? You have the power to carry the torch, to sail the ark, to create and build the ark, and to ignite the new flame in the temple that will serve as the lighthouse and the beacon of hope for those to come. So with that, nice deep breath in. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here with me today. This was some heavy work, and you're tuning in and capturing this one. You did it. As much fun as it is to think in manifesting constructs all the time, and what we're creating and what we're building and getting super excited about it. As light beings, it's not always what we're called to. We must bring the energy across the divide. So with that, giving yourself a hug and a high five and a hell yeah and a hell yes. I love my hell yeses for truth, for peace, for joy, for hope. And for you, just knowing what a badass you are, because you are. And I'm so proud to have you here with me through this meditation today, earning our stripes, earning our light, expanding the consciousness, allowing for new information to come in, to land. And so with that, I honor you in Lakach, in Lakin.